have to sneeze or anything like that, I'm going to try to remember to mute myself so I don't like blow anyone's eardrums out while we're talking. Um, good barking or whining noises. I'm in a little hotel room with my dog, so and I can't let him out on his own, so we might hear some puppy noises in the background, but that's okay. All right, so let's jump into things. Thanks everyone for coming out, taking some time during the summer. Maybe some of you are working, maybe you're actually on holidays but logging in, so I really appreciate it. And today we're going to talk about social media on the go, which is really applicable to this time of year because a lot of us are traveling or on holidays or spending time with family, but we still need to get a little bit of work done or maintain our online marketing. So that's what I want to talk about today. And I'll just give a little intro of myself here. Next slide. So this is me when I'm not sick with a cold. So my mission is to make social media fun, easy, and effective. And I do that in a variety of ways. So I manage other people's social media. I come in to do consulting. I also do a lot of training for people who they just want to learn to do it themselves. And then also some speaking about social media and things like that. So just some housekeeping notes. This webinar is being recorded, so you guys will be able to rewatch it if you've missed anything. Also, what I like to do is I like to make my slides available to people. I know when I'm on a webinar, I don't like having to frantically take notes because sometimes you miss what people are saying. So I am going to make my slides available to you guys. All you have to do is shoot me an email when we're done. And I know my email's up on the screen, but just so you have it in a little bit better place, I'm going to type it in the chat box right here, because then you can click on it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so just email me after if you want a copy of the slides, and I will send them to you. So you don't have to frantically take notes, which hopefully will allow you to spend some more time thinking about all of the apps and things I'm going to be talking about today and how or if you could use them for your business. So I'm going to go through that, and then we're going to have a Q&A at the very end. If you are like me and you forget things easily, feel free to type your questions in as we go. It's just I won't be stopping to answer them. I will scroll back through the chat and we'll get to them at the end. So feel free to do that, but it's just I'm not ignoring you. We're just going to wait till the end for questions. So let's get started here. This is the main topics we're going to cover today. And the one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind is that a lot of these tools and tricks that I'm going to talk about, they're good for on the go, but they can be used even when you're not on the go. So even if you are at your computer most of the time, some of these things are still going to make your life easier. They might save you time, they might make things less complicated or just smooth out your social media process. So the big question is, why would you want to manage your social media on the go? Like I was saying, especially during the summer, but it could be at any time of the year. It might take a lot of business trips, or you're back and forth in meetings. Maybe your only real free time during the day is like that 30 minutes on the bus or on the train on the way to work. So you might be one of those business owners who goes on vacation but either needs to or wants to stay connected to work. So whatever your reason is, I'm here to help you out and tell you it's possible. Just keep in mind that I do recommend taking a break now and again. I'm not advocating being online 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I'm just going to show you how to make things easier on yourself. Let's get started with accessing your files. So people still get kind of antsy when I talk about the cloud because of privacy issues. So my little disclaimer about this is that if you have information in your files that requires a certain level of security, then you'll want to do a lot of investigating into these applications to see which one has the security requirements that you need. At the very least, you could simply store a few documents in the cloud. For example, the ones that you might need to easily manage your social media, like photos or content calendars or posting schedules, maybe things that don't require such a high level of security or privacy. So these apps that are listed here, these are the most popular solutions for online file storage today. So I want you to keep in mind that the primary purpose of these is for storage and file sharing, not for file backups. Even though some of them have that feature, that's not their primary purpose. So if you're looking for a way to back up your files, these might not be the solution. They're more for sharing and storage and being able to easily access your files between your devices or between different people. And there's a little link at the bottom there. It's pretty long, so don't worry about it right now. But if you get a copy of the slides, it's clickable. And it has a really good review on all the most popular options today. So if you're looking into getting on the cloud with your files, I would highly recommend that article because it's excellent. All right, so now that I've talked about the cloud and how you don't need to be too scared of it, these are the benefits of being able to access your files from any device, right? So obviously, free storage is a good thing. We are always looking for more storage. And the nice thing about the cloud is that there are lots of options. All of the ones that I listed on the previous slide, they have free services, and then as you pay, you get more and more storage. And the nice thing about cloud storage is that it's relatively inexpensive these days, and it's just getting cheaper and cheaper as servers get bigger and fancier, and the internet kind of demands it. So the next thing on here is the option to store files locally on your device. So what I mean by that is that if I have files in the cloud and I'm on my phone, I can look at them. But what happens if I don't have access to the internet? Well, then suddenly your access to your files is cut off. Well, the nice thing about most of these storage solutions is that you can go through and you can choose to store specific files on your device. It's kind of like downloading them so that you have them with you wherever you are. And if the internet cuts out, or if your internet connection is really spotty or slow, you can still have access to the files you need. And in fact, I would recommend to use this feature even if you know you're going someplace that has good internet, because you never know when the internet's going to stop working, right? You might be someplace where you need Wi-Fi, the power goes out. I just did a workshop not that long ago where we were all connected to the Wi-Fi and the power went out. And so we had to kind of do some other exercises for a while the power came back on. So you never know what's going to happen. So if you have room on your devices to store some of those key files, that can be really, really helpful. So you don't have to worry about not having access to them. And the last thing here is it's really easy to share and collaborate on files if you have multiple people doing your social media, right? So this kind of eliminates a few potential problems you might have with multiple people working on a single file. For example, email attachment size limits. So if you're emailing files back and forth and your file gets too big, depending on what it is, you might not be able to email it anymore. So then kind of the next step from that would be, okay, let's put it on a zip drive and share it back and forth. Well, then you actually have to physically hand the zip drive to somebody, keep track of it. They're kind of easy to lose track of unless you attach them to a keychain or something like that. So there's always the risk of it just getting lost. And then also you run the risk of people having multiple versions of a file and not knowing which is the correct version or the most up-to-date version, or having changes on two different documents that then you have to manually kind of merge together. So if you have a single file in the cloud that multiple people can access, they can all work on that one file and you don't have any of those other problems, right? It's especially good with spreadsheets and stuff like that. So that's my kind of advocacy for the cloud. And I just wanted to mention, of the 4 that I talked about on the last slide, my personal favorite is Google Drive. I'm not saying it's the best one. I'm just saying it's my favorite. And the reason for that is because I use a lot of other Google products. And so, of course, they all integrate together really, really nicely. And because Google is a pretty big company, right? A lot of other software providers have started building in Google integration into their apps. So not only do all the Google products work with each other, they work with a lot of other popular services that I use. So it's just really, really convenient. But regardless of that, a lot of the cloud storage solutions, for the most part, have all of the same features. So you just have to investigate to see which one works best for you, which one you find easiest to use. For example, Dropbox is definitely the most user-friendly. It has the most simplistic interface. Then there's iCloud and AirDrop, right? So that would be for Apple and Mac users. So people who have all Mac and Apple devices might find that's the best solution for them. So that's just a few things about cloud storage and file sharing. Let's go on to the next part about sharing your content on social media. So in a perfect world, you want to be able to read all of your content in one place. You don't want to be opening up Facebook and reading things and then going to some bookmarks of your favorite blogs and reading those and going in and out of different websites. That by itself can take up a lot of time, and potentially you don't have all of those things bookmarked on your phone, right? You might, but you might not. So you do want to be able to browse and share all your content in one place. And in this instance, when I'm talking about your content, I'm talking about not the content that you're creating. We'll get to that in a little bit, but this is the content that other people are creating that you're reading and loving and sharing on social media. So the solution to this is an online reader, and that's where you can add feeds to all of your favorite blogs, news outlets, etc. And so then the articles will update in your reader as they are published by that other website, and you can read them at your leisure. So when you find an article that you want to share, you can do that directly from the reader, which eliminates the copy paste of links, which can be kind of inconvenient on a mobile device, right? With the tapping and the highlighting, sometimes it can be really frustrating. So just being able to click a button and share directly is really, really awesome. So I've got 3 examples here, and there are lots of readers. These are the ones that are the most popular right now. And so one is Feedly, one is Flipboard, and the last one is the Old Reader. So my favorite is Feedly. Again, my needs might be a bit different than yours because I'm not only managing content for myself, but also for my clients, right? So the advantage to Feedly is that I can have different folders that have links to blogs and stuff of different topics. So if that's something that appeals to you, being able to have folders and have things separated out, Feedly is really great. If you're more of a visual magazine type kind of person, then I would recommend Flipboard because visually it's really, really, really nice to look at and to use. The main difference between those two is that Feedly is geared a bit more towards business. So it has some more integrations with other pieces of software that we will be talking about later. And so that's another reason why I choose to use Feedly. And the old reader is just a really, really basic, plain reader. So if you don't want any bells and whistles, that's the one you probably want to look at. And these are all free, by the way. You can get them at no cost for your business. So the next point I wanted to make about sharing content is you might come across an article outside of your reader that you want to share. So for example, somebody emails you a link, or you see an article on Facebook and think, oh, that would be really great to share on Twitter. So how do you do that easily? Well, hopefully, you have a lot of built-in sharing functions on your phone tablet. The nice thing about phones these days is because sharing on social media has become so popular. Most phones have built-in sharing functions, and the apps are designed to be able to work with the phones to integrate all this built-in sharing functionality. So as long as you have an app, for example, if I had the Twitter app downloaded on my phone, then my phone will automatically let me share to Twitter. So just so you guys know what I'm talking about, if you're on your phone and you were to open up a link on your browser on your phone, there would be a button probably on the bottom. If you're on an Android, it might be at the top. I know I'm a Mac girl, so if I'm saying things that aren't quite right, it's just because of the layout of the phone. Um, when I hit the little send to or share button in my browser, the Twitter app is an option for me to share things. And so are almost every major social network I can do that from. So a lot of the time you can just share directly from your phone. So again, you don't have to worry about copy pasting because nobody wants to do that on their device. And then the last thing is what happens if you find something you want to share, but it's not in your reader, and for whatever reason, you can't share it from the built-in functionality of your phone, because it happens once in a while. And that's where bookmarklets come in. And what a bookmarklet is, it's a little piece of code that you don't have to write it, somebody else has written it. You just have to save it to your bookmarks on your device, and it allows you to perform some function that your device doesn't do by default. Now, because sharing functions are more and more in demand, and app and phone developers are planning for this when they're designing things, most bookmarklets these days are no longer necessary because the functionality is built into our phones. But there is one extremely handy bookmarklet, sorry, and that's Bitly. So for anyone who doesn't know, Bitly is a link shortening service. So if you're on Twitter, you probably see this quite often as people need to conserve space so they can fit more words into their tweets. Although it's getting really popular to use everywhere now, not just on Twitter. So Bitly has two other really nice features. You can customize your link within reason so that it's not just random numbers and letters, because it'll generate a random link for you but you can customize it so that it just, when people look at it, they have a better idea of what the link is for. The other thing is that Bitly tracks link clicks, which can be really handy. Um, if you're sending out stuff and you want to know if people are actually clicking on it, Bitly counts them so that you can tell that. So if you're on your device and you want to share a link, but you need to shorten it, if you have the Bitly bookmarklet, you just open that up and it'll automatically shorten your link so that you can copy it and then share it to whatever network you want. So you don't need to worry about having a really long link on Twitter or character space or anything like that. And sometimes the shortened links just look nicer, especially if you have the opportunity to customize them. So that's everything about sharing that I wanted to share with you. Haha. All right, so after sharing, now we're going to get kind of into the meat of things, which is creating your own content from your mobile device. So I'm going to focus mostly on photos and videos here because things like writing a tweet or a Facebook update, that's very straightforward, right? It's text. The thing is with social media these days is that people love photos and especially videos. Videos are very, very popular right now. So you want to be able to create and share as many of those types of things as possible. So your device is going to have fairly basic photo editing abilities, right? Like brightness and color filters. So it's okay for basic editing, but it's not really good for graphic design. And I'm not talking about like really elaborate graphic design. I'm talking about things as basic as adding some text to a photo, right? Your phone by itself does not do that. So that's why we need some mobile apps, right? Because what if you want to add text to your image? What if you want to create a graphic right from scratch, like a promotional image for a sale or an event you have coming up? Or maybe you heard this really inspirational quote or a business related joke and you kind of want to turn that into a photo and share it. So these are some really great tools that you can use. And I don't have a favorite in this group. And the reason for that is I use them all for different purposes, depending on what I want to do with my photos. So the first one, Studio, and it's available on Apple and Android. So Studio comes with a lot of design elements. They call them stamps that you can use to add little embellishments to pictures, right? So I might want to add like a smiley face or a sun or something like that to a photo. I can easily do that with Studio. And of course, I can add text and do some like basic filtering and things like that. All of the apps will have that capability, but the text and the little stamps and embellishments are really what I like about Studio. So the next one I've got listed here is PhotoGrid. Now, PhotoGrid I use if I want to make photo collages. I sometimes have multiple photos, but you just want to have one thing to share. Like that would be especially on Instagram. If I have 4 photos, I don't necessarily, but I want to send them all out right now, but I would feel like I was spamming people if I posted 4 photos in a row. So I might just make a collage of all 4 photos, right? Because you can't do like an album on Instagram like you could on Facebook. On Facebook, I would just put all 4 photos in a post or an album, and it's no problem. So, but for some other purposes, I do want to make a collage. And again, PhotoGrid has the basic, you can add text, you can do some filters, like all the other apps. But the collage is what makes PhotoGrid unique. And then the last thing here is Canva. And unfortunately, it's only available on the iPad. And I have not been able to find anything that's really, really good that would be the equivalent for an Android user. So I apologize. to anyone out there who has like Samsung or an LG, because Canva is for iPad only. Um, Canva is really, really awesome. If any of you have ever attended any kind of workshop or webinar with me, you've probably heard me talk about it before, right? But the awesome thing about Canva is that it has image templates, because sometimes we want to make a photo, say for Facebook, but we don't know, okay, what's the best size for a Facebook photo? And you have to go Googling for it and then trying to figure out how to make it that right size. Well, you don't have to do that with Canva because it has templates set up, and it'll just give you a template that's the right size, and then you just start making your photo. So Canva I typically use when I'm making graphics from scratch. So it has background colors, shapes, stamps, kind of similar to Studio. You can have a lot of different fonts. You can add little lines and circles and swirlies and things like that. It's really, really awesome. And the fact that it's now mobile is even more great. And Canva, the other nice thing about Canva is that you can export your photos as um, JPEGs or PNGs so that you can upload on the web. The other nice thing about Canva is you can also download them as PDFs if you need to send them for printing. So if you're actually designing designing a graphic for like a poster or postcard or something you're going to print off, you can do that with Canva. Right. And my little tip of the day, since we're talking about photos and editing, that if you're sharing a graphic that you have created yourself, I highly, highly recommend branding them. And that could be with your logo, with your business name, or with your website address. Something to let people know that that photo belongs to you, because copyright infringement is rampant on social media. And so if you say you put together a really nice quote photo that you thought was awesome and you share it, if you have your logo or something on that, when other people are sharing it, people are going to see, oh, hey, that belongs to this business. And then the chances of them checking you out just went up, right? As opposed to if there was no credit on the photo at all. So the next thing I want to talk about in terms of creating content is videos. So videos are currently the most popular content for social media consumers, right? There's a small amount of people creating videos and a large amount of people consuming them. So if you can get into the habit of making videos on a regular basis, you're going to find that your reach and engagement on social media is probably going to skyrocket. The nice thing about videos is that these days it's almost easier to create videos on your phone or tablet, right? I'm sure a lot of people have found that if they've tried anything out. And so you definitely want to take advantage of that. The nice thing about videos is that they're even better than a status update or a photo to get to know the person behind the business. And really, that's what people on social media want. They want to get to know you. They might like your business, but they want to get to know what you're all about. So for more permanent promotional videos, maybe something that's going on the front page of your website, you may want something with a higher production value. So you might need to look into getting a professional. But do-it-yourself videos are perfectly fine for social media. So some examples of those would just be using the default video on your phone, right? The quality will probably be okay. The only downside to doing that is that there's almost no editing abilities on our phones yet, right? Hopefully that will come in the future with the kind of newer versions of phones and things like that. But right now, all you get is the video you recorded as is. So something else that you could use a video is Periscope or Meerkat. You guys have probably heard of these. I don't know how many people have tried them out, but what those are, um, they're designed to be live streaming video apps specifically for Twitter. But when you're making a video on one of those, you can have it saved to your camera, which means that you can then upload it wherever you want, right, on any social network. So if you want um, something with a little bit more polish, there are some other apps that I really love to use, and that's Animoto and Magisto. And these apps, their functionalities are quite similar in terms of the fact that they both have video templates. So you pick a template, and that's going to determine the format of your video, like the kind of the transitions and the colors and things like that. Then you just pick your photos or your videos that you want to include in it, use some music, and then you hit create, and it makes a video for you. So you might be able to add some text or captions to things, but by and large, the format of the video is determined by the template. And the thing is, the templates are pretty good, right? So it's likely that you're going to find something that you really, really like. I know I have. I was a bit worried that I would get with it, have kind of the same few templates, but as time goes on, they slowly add more things, more templates and more music and things like that, and more abilities to customize. So I would highly recommend checking these out. A note about the two of them is that Animoto is a little more business oriented than Magisto. So with Animoto, you can do things like add a call to action at the end, or a clickable link to your website. Whereas at the moment, with the free version of Magisto, you can't do things like that. So for something that you just wanted to play around with and try out, Magisto is great. If you want it to be a little more business-like, you might need to look into Animoto. And I would challenge everyone here, all 29 of you at the moment, go out and create like a 20-second video and post it to your social media. A lot of people get tangled up and paralyzed by videos. They're afraid to do it, or they're afraid it won't be good, or the quality won't be good, or they'll look silly on the video or something like that. But really, the way to get over that is to just do one and then see the awesome response that you get. That'll give you a boost to do your second one and then your third one and so on. So just do it is a motto that applies to many, many things, including videos on social media. So now to go from content creation, I want to talk about scheduling. So I love this quote. Sometimes automating social media is necessary because it frees up our time to actually be social. So I don't mean that you should schedule every single post and then forget about it, because that's going to make you look like a robot, right? You've probably seen people who are just constantly sending out links to articles and things. They never have conversations with anyone. They're just broadcasting information, not really engaging. But you do want to schedule things ahead of time when appropriate. And an example of that would be you're about to go on a trip. So you could schedule posts to be going out while you're gone. But do try to engage in real time. So if you're scheduling something and somebody comments on it, like while you're away, you should comment back as soon as you can, right? Don't leave it until when you get back, because then again, it looks a little bit robotic, right? And also then people start to know, okay, if she's not commenting here, she's probably away, right? And you don't necessarily want people online to know that you're gone. So it's kind of a two-pronged advantage there to be engaging in real time. The other great thing about scheduling is that it prevents you from scrambling to find something to post every day, right? Because I know we've all done that. Um, some of us do it every day. Some of us just do it when we didn't have time to schedule things, and it can be quite stressful. So scheduling just frees up your time and helps you remain slightly less stress-free as a business owner. So these are some scheduling tools that all have apps that you can use on the go so you don't have to be sitting at your computer. Okay? So we've got Buffer, Hootsuite, Sprout Social, Facebook, and Echophone. So Buffer and Hootsuite, you've probably heard of them because they're pretty popular, and they are the most popular for scheduling. So again, my preference is for Buffer because I find it a lot easier to use and a lot more user-friendly. However, Hootsuite does have more functionality, whereas Buffer is strictly for scheduling. So we will end up talking about Hootsuite again in a couple minutes. But just in terms of scheduling on its own, I like Buffer. One of the other things is that Buffer also integrates with Bitly, right? That's the link shortener. So I can continue to create customized links and track them while using Buffer. Note that Hootsuite does have a link shortening service, but it's its own custom link shortening service. And if you want to be able to switch it to something else like Bitly, you have to be on a paid plan. I do want to mention Sprout Social. I have it on the list because it is a really good social media management tool, and it has all of the functionality of Hootsuite and schedules, just like Buffer. And it's really great. However, it is a bit more expensive to use. So Buffer and Hootsuite both have free versions, but Sprout Social does not. They just have a free trial. So it totally depends on your budget. But if you can afford it, I would definitely recommend Sprout Social. It has a really nice dashboard and it's easy to use, and the app is great. But it is a little bit pricey for a small business owner. Okay, so those are kind of third-party tools you can use for scheduling. Some social networks have built-in scheduling functionality like Facebook and Twitter, and I would always recommend using the Facebook scheduling tool. Even if you happen to be using something like Buffer or Hootsuite to schedule on other networks, always use the built-in Facebook scheduling functionality. And here is the reason. Facebook doesn't like us using other software to interact with Facebook. They want you to always be on Facebook for everything, right? So when you use Buffer or Hootsuite to post to Facebook, there's a slight penalty. That means your post may get less reach than if you had posted it directly through Facebook, right? Now I say may because a lot of people report, including myself, that yes, we see less reach when we're using these tools. There are some people who said they didn't see a difference, and that's great for them, right? But some of us said, nope, we didn't like it. So I haven't ever heard of anyone reporting that their posts with Buffer and Hootsuite are doing better. So you'll either find your reach goes down or it stays the same. If you want to experiment with those, just keep an eye out. If it starts to go down, you know you need to just go back to using Facebook directly. So, and I know I mentioned Twitter with built-in scheduling functionality. The only thing is that the Twitter scheduler is not available through the app. So you wouldn't be able to schedule tweets on the go, right? It's only available on their website. However, kind of the workaround for that would be Ecophone. It's basically another Twitter client. The key with Ecophone, though, is that it integrates with Buffer. So if I was, say, waiting at the airport or something like that, and I wanted to read my Twitter feed and maybe see if there were some things that I could retweet, but I do want to schedule them because I don't want to spam people with like 15 retweets all in a row. So I would open up Ecophone and I would just browse my Twitter feed like I would normally on the app. And then if I see something I want to retweet, there is a send to buffer button. And so it goes right into my buffer queue. So I find that extremely handy. Right? And I guess I should mention, if you're on your, just so you know, if you're on your laptop or if you're on the Twitter website, you can have it integrate with Buffer as well. It's just the Twitter app doesn't integrate with Buffer. So that's the reason why I use Ecophone on my phone. So the next part of the scheduling. So you've sent all your posts out. And of course, you do want to engage with people if they're retweeting or sharing or commenting. And those are all things that you will get notifications for on your social network or on your phone, right? So, but what about the things that you don't get direct notifications for, right? Because it's not enough just to pay attention to those, because people could be saying things about you online that you don't know about, and you still want to try to find those so you can respond to them. So, kind of like the key takeaway here, and this isn't just for social media on the go, it's for social media in general. Even if you're not online, your potential customers might be online and they might be saying things about you. So how do you find those things out? And then the next point is that even if you are on social media, people could be talking about you, but they're not tagging you and they're not mentioning you, so you don't see it. So again, how do you find those things? So here are some tools to help you do that. So the first one is Google Alerts. And Google Alerts is a good catch-all for you to find out what people are saying about you anywhere online. So I would recommend setting up a Google Alert, for example, your name, like your personal name, your business name. If you find your names get misspelled often, you probably want to set up Google Alerts for those as well. If that's a problem for you. For example, me, a lot of people spell my name with a Y instead of an I, so I have a Google Alert set up for my name spelled with a Y, right? That would be an example. The nice thing about Google Alerts, because I don't want to go to the Google Alert website and look through that, because I want to see everything all in one place, especially when I'm on my phone. And the great thing about Google Alerts is that every alert you set up generates a feed that then I add that to Feedly, and I can read it along with all of my other news and blogs and articles that I look at every day. So I check every day as I'm looking through everything else to see if there's anything out there about me or my business. And then again, with Feedly, I can automatically share it if I want to. So that's Google Alerts. So even if you're not even on social media yet, definitely set up a Google Alert. Because the worst thing would be if somebody was saying something that was maybe incorrect about your business, then at least you have the opportunity to correct them. Or if they're saying something awesome, you can tell them you really appreciate it, right? So we all want to do that. That would be best case scenario. Now, in terms of specific to social media, you can use Hootsuite or Sprout Social to set up searches to keep eye on any mentions of you or your business on social media. So remember, if people aren't tagging your name or mentioning your account, you won't get a notification. So you can set up searches for those. And you also want to set up a search for your website address, because then this is going to let you find the posts of people who are sharing content from your website, right? They might not be mentioning your name. They might just say, hey, I found this article, or hey, check out this link. And if they don't talk about you, you won't ever see it. But you can search for your website address, and then that will pop up. So again, these social media searches can also be turned into a feed and added to Feedly. So then you're reading them all in one place. It's a little bit technical, so we don't have time to go into it today. But if you want more information about creating feeds and adding them to Feedly, just shoot me an email when we're done, and I can help you out with whatever you need. So the important thing to remember here is to keep in mind that no matter how much you search, you're never going to find everything that people are saying about you, especially on social media, right? Because we can have privacy settings on our social networks. And so as a person, I'm not going to be able to find what somebody is saying about me on their private Facebook page, for example, right? Because I don't have access to that if I'm not their friend. So you're never going to find anything, but these things will help you find a lot more than what you just might find on your own. All right, so I had a special note about Facebook, and then we're going to have time for questions. So here's Facebook. If you intend to manage your Facebook page from your mobile device, please, please, please make sure that you have downloaded the separate Facebook Pages app. And that picture there, that's the Pages icon. So if you don't have that as an app on your phone and you're using Facebook for business, go and download it right now. Right now. The regular Facebook app doesn't have all of the page functionality that we often need, in particular, scheduling and making a draft post. You can't do those from the regular Facebook app, but you can do them from the Pages app. The other nice thing about the Pages app is that because it is just for pages, it's really simple and easy to use, and it's never crashed on me. Unlike the regular Facebook app, which is big and bulky, and is sometimes slow or doesn't work at all or won't load new posts. I'm sure we've all had that happen, right? So I definitely recommend the Facebook Page app. Another note too about Facebook and posting photos. I get asked many, many times. In fact, we just had this yesterday. Somebody was trying to post multiple photos to Facebook, but they were having problems because, well, they were having two problems. One, it would only let them post one photo at a time, and two, it was posting to their personal Facebook page and not their business page like they wanted. So if any of you guys have ever had that problem, the solution is this. You want to, instead of going to your photos on your phone and sharing, you want to open up the Facebook app or the Pages app and create a new post with photos from there, because then it will let you add multiple photos and you know it's going to the right place. So just a little tip. That's something that comes up a lot for me. Everyone's always kind of shoving their phone in my face and going, help, right? So that's my little Facebook tip for the day for you guys. So that is everything for on the go that I could fit into this time frame. And I know we went through things really quick. And the key to a lot of these things is actually downloading the apps or checking them out and getting to know how they work. So if you guys have any questions about things like that, just email me. I have no problem helping people out with things like getting an app set up or which one should I use and things like that. So, like I said before, you can email me. My address is in the chat window, kind of closer to the top, but it's on this page as well. And you can connect with me on any social media network that I've got listed on here. So let's take some questions right now. I see a couple of things posted in the chat box, so I'm just going to scroll for a second and see what we've got. All right, so we've got Linda wants to know, how do I do a Google search for my photos to see where they are being posted? There's one, the best way I know to do that, and you wouldn't be able to do it from your phone. You'd have to do it from like a desktop web browser. If you have the Google Chrome browser, you can actually do a search for photos that it search if you have a, oh, this might be too complicated. We only have 8 minutes. This might be a longer conversation. Linda, I will tell you, you can do it with Google Chrome. It's totally possible. If anyone wants to find out the details of that, could you send me an email afterwards? And I'll go into a little bit more explanation because that I don't know that we'll be able to do that in the time we have left. But it is possible. Okay, and then, so next is Leanne. Hi, Leanne. How do I set up a Google Alert? So the Google Alert, it has its own website. So if you just Google Alerts, it'll take you to that website and it'll walk you through. It's like a 2 or 3 step process. You basically just tell it what you want to search for and it will do the rest for you. So it's pretty easy. So try that out. But if you have any questions, just let me know. So what's next here? Okay, Brady, how often should we be posting on social media to keep viewers engaged but not overwhelm them? Are there any recommendations? Yes, and this is a really, really common question too, right? Like everyone wants to know this. My answer is it depends on your audience. So what I mean by that is that the people who are following you online, they might be happy with seeing 5 posts a day. They might only want to see 1 post a day. And the only way for you to know that for sure is to experiment with a number of posts, right? I would say, just as a general guideline, for Facebook, if your audience is under 1,000 people on Facebook, you can probably do 1 or 2 a day. There might be exceptions where you can do more, but you probably don't want to go over that on a consistent basis. Now on Twitter, you probably want to be sending out posts a lot more than just once a day because Twitter moves really fast, right? And so you don't want your information to get lost in the shuffle. So you could be sending out like between 5 and 10 tweets a day and then actually repeating your message like at different times throughout the week because different people are going to see it when they log on at different times, especially on Twitter. The best way to know if you are posting too often is that you'll start to see a sudden decrease in your followers, right? And I know that's a scary prospect, but that really is the best way to know you've kind of reached the threshold of how often you can post. What I find is that people are often so scared to post too much that they post too little. And that's really too bad because that can kind of make the momentum of your social media go down, right? The more you post kind of builds momentum. I hope that makes sense. Um, then there's Amy. Hello, Amy. Should you be posting the same content to more than one platform, like the same posts on both Twitter and Facebook, or should you be making new content for each platform? Okay, that's a good question too, and something that a lot of people wonder about. So, and we'll just use Twitter and Facebook as the example because most people are pretty familiar with them. So I would not, like, you don't want to be copy and pasting the exact same message on both Twitter and Facebook. The big reason being that on Twitter, of course, you only have 140 characters. So you can't say the exact same thing without your post getting cut off in the middle somewhere. So that being said, you can send out the same information, but you can be customizing it in terms of the number of characters you have to work with, and also the photos that you send out. Photos on Facebook, um, square photos on Facebook work really, really well, whereas on Twitter, it's more of the default space for a photo on Twitter is kind of like a rectangle. So if you post a square photo on Twitter, people actually have to click on it to see the full photo. Whereas if it's just kind of the rectangular size that they recommend, people can see all of the information without clicking. And that's usually what you want on Twitter because people are scrolling really fast and they might not take the time to click or tap. So I would say yes, you can post the same type of content, just customize the format. Um, and you might start to notice people are responding. Like, for example, if you're posting the same thing to Twitter and Facebook, but you find that people are responding to it more on, say, Twitter, then maybe you could say to yourself, okay, I'm only going to post this stuff on Twitter and try something different on Facebook. I know I've definitely had that happen to me. And so I'd started out posting the same. And then in the end, I only do one thing on Twitter and I do something different on Facebook. Yeah. So I hope that helps. That answers your question. I know a lot of the answers that I give are it depends. And I know that can be frustrating for people, but it really is true. It totally depends on the people who are following you and what they want, right? And the best way to find that out is just to put stuff out there and see what they like. Okay, we have 1 minute left. Does anyone have a last minute question they want to sneak in? I don't see anyone typing yet, so I think we're done. Just under the wire.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Brandy. That was fantastic. Tons of information. I think I have 3 or 4 new apps on my phone right now.
Yeah, that usually happens. All right. Well, I just wanted to say a quick thanks to everyone. Thanks for the nice comments there. Yeah, and again, if you want copies of the slides, just send me an email, or if you have any more questions about anything that I talked about today, or maybe that one question about Google searching for images that I wasn't able to get to, yeah, just email me and I'll be happy to help you out.